Hello everybody, this is Noreen from Joya Cards and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and welcome to my YouTube channel, yay! For more of my Stampin' Up! Card videos, make sure you click that subscribe button and the little bell and you'll be notified when my videos release. So, we are going to do a tutorial on Nature's Prints, which is also called Sun Prints in the catalog. So this is the 22 to 23 annual catalog. It's on page 90 to 91. If you just get the bundle, you just get the stamp and the die. And if you get the whole suite, you get the embossing folder and the paper. But this is what it looks like in the catalog. So, like I said, here are the dies, and I always put them on my magnetic sheet. Now, everything you see in the video, from all the Stampin' Up! Stuff to things that aren't Stampin' Up! Like my glass here, I am an Amazon affiliate, so if you go into the description of my video, there are links. I'm completely safe to click on links. I'm also a Walmart affiliate, so it helps me carry on my business. I get a little kickback, so it's always good. So these magnets are there. I don't put anything in my links that I don't use myself. So this is definitely in there and that. Now, the 3D embossing folder looks like this. Now, if you do use a 3D embossing folder, you need a 3D embossing folder plate. I'll look on my, because I don't think Stampin' Up! Has ever come back with their embossing plate. I'll look for sure, and if they don't, I'll put an Amazon link. Somebody's got this plate because you can't use it without it. I mean, it just won't work. So, and the way you layer these is just that on like your Sizzix, on your sandwich, you go all the way to the embossing folder sandwich. You just put your paper in the embossing folder and this on top, no plates, and run it through. So this one's pretty cool. And then we also have the paper, which is absolutely insanely beautiful. I always keep them in my folders like this to keep all the little scraps and everything. And you want to keep the back because you need to see all the colors that they're using. So Gray Granite, Nina Navy, Pacific Point, and Starry Skies. Sky is the colors in this, but this paper is just insanely beautiful. So here's the front side with all the blues, and it's just, I mean, it's gorgeous. And the back sides, I'm not so keen about, but I tell you what, here's the blue side of that. I have used the back side of this already. I used it as wallpaper in the stamp that has the little doggy in it. It's the host stamp, and it just turned out really cute. I can put the link on the in the video. It's here, the host set right here with the little doggies. And this you can get, you don't have to do an in-person party. If you've got a bunch of friends that want to make cards, I can set you up with an online party and you can get credit and get that host set for free. But here's the other colors here. They're really not as exciting, but like I said, I've already, oh, that's really pretty. I've already used it as a wallpaper for one of my doggy cards. So I just stopped the video and I ran and got that card because it's so cute. And I actually used the kitty from that set, and see how I used the back of that paper here as a wallpaper. So, and that aired on April 24th, 2022. So it's really kind of cute. So there is the paper. Now, before we move forward with doing the stamping and the coloring and all that, because I'm going to show you all that, I did want to go back to the embossing folder. So it's the Fern 3D embossing folder, and this is what it looks like. Like I said, you have to have that embossing folder plate, but this is what it looks like on white. And then I went ahead and I used garden green or granny apple green and use Pacific Point, and I use Pacific Point because it's part of the DS colors. And then I also used evening evergreen paper and also that Pacific Point again. So just, I mean, you can play around. There's lots of things you can do with embossing folders. So here's just a few. So let's get to stamping out the Nature's Prints. So the stamps are really quite nice. I went ahead and stamped them all out, and I do recommend you always stamp out everything because you need to know what it's going to do. It also will spark some ideas. Sorry, my dog is barking because the UPS guy's here. So this is what that looks like. The next thing I do is I also die cut everything out. So you know what everything kind of looks like And also, like I said, I keep these on my magnet, so everything's nice and clear here. So you got a sentiment tag. You've got these images here that will all have a stamp. This one also has a stamp technically too. And then these that don't have stamps. Also, these two here are identical. And this third one is different. It's facing the other way. So these are totally identical. These are also identical, which that also drives me crazy when they give you things that are, it's like this the same or not, I don't know. So those are all the cutouts. And then what I also will do is, going back to the stamps, is I will stamp them out in different colors. So let me show you what I did here. Is I took, whoopsie, I took this stamp right there and I stamped them out in different colors just to see what I liked. And to tell you the truth, I kind of like the shaded spruce. Of course, old olive is also good. You could also tell when your stamp pads are a little dry, so I went ahead and re-stamped this one. Garden green's great. Parakeet Party, man, I really like that color. I don't know for this set if I would use it or not. Watch, I'll use it. Mint Macaroon was surprising. So stamping them out in the different colors is also great. And then I will also cut them out. So here's all those colors in the die cut. So let's start with Shaded Spruce, Pear Pizzazz, Mossy Meadow, Granny Apple Green, Soft Succulent, Garden Green, Evening Evergreen, Old Olive, and Parakeet Party. And then I also cut them out in DS paper here. So here's that brush stroke paper. That's beautiful. The blue in it is just amazing. And then here's Pretty Prints, believe it or not. And here's Hues of Happiness. So you don't always have to do just the cardstock. You can also do it in the DS paper as well. Now here, technically there's really only 4 of the dies that have a stamp that coordinated. Now you can say the sentiment, and I'll show you this in a minute, but these are the 4. So you've got this one here, this one here, this one here, and this one here. The rest of them don't really have anything that coordinate it. Now usually Stampin' Up! On their DS paper will have something in the DS paper that will match up with the die. This one does not. Not any of these dies are located on any of the paper. Now you could technically take this one, so it's this print right here, and kind of match it in here. That might work pretty okay, but you'd have to, it would really depend on what you were doing. There was another spot I also thought that you could get it to maybe work with only this die, and it would be this image right here. You could get that out if you wanted to. I mean, this is the prettiest sheet right here, is this one, and to cut something right in the middle, I don't know. I'm also a scrapbooker, and it's like, oh, I just don't like doing that, but I would sacrifice it. But so these are those dies. Like I said, technically the sentiment tag cuts things out because you've got sentiments in the stamp. You've got all these here, so I mean it can be considered one of those. But let's get to the coloring, because you can see I've done some coloring. Here's some coloring. Now all of these flowers I did on my Stamparatus because I wanted the stem to be different from the petal. I didn't want them to be all the same color. So this is what it's going to look like on the Stamparatus. I also used, and you can see here that I used water painters. Like this is a water painter and these are water painter. I did choose for a while because I was taking just the water painter, and then I took the water painter and I used the stamp. So this is just the water painter. This is dipping it into the Stampin' Pad. So water painter, just the water painter, and then the Stampin' Pad. Now I left this here on purpose because it's important to know sometimes those water painters are a little hard to control. So you can see you kind of risk bleeding it out. So I kind of didn't like that. I don't even know if I like the look out of it. Here's the water painter and the water painter in the pad. And here's the same thing, water painter with the pad. And this one I just used the water painter with the pad. So I know that's crazy, but here's some color combinations. I used a Granny Apple Green, Fresh Frieza, Orchid Oasis. This one, Granny Apple Green Stem, Fresh Frieza, Daffodil Delight, and Orchard Oasis. This one is Mossy Meadow for the stem, Sweet Sorbet, Cherry Cobbler, and Daffodil Delight. This one is Mint Macaroon on the stem, Rich Razzleberry, and Daffodil Delight. This one is Shaded Spruce, Pacific Point, Tahitian Tide, and Daffodil Delight. This one's Parakeet Party, Poppy Parade, and Daffodil Delight. And then these last ones here on the end are all just the blender pen. So you got the water painter and you've got the blending pen. Now the blending pen does work better because you don't risk that total washout if you get too much color. But it's just kind of okay. And I thought this was maybe the best way to do it, but I was wrong. So this page right here are Stampin' Rights. This one is colored pencils. So on the Stampin' Rights, we got light and dark Cherry Cobbler, and these are all with a black base. So I didn't use the Stamparatus, I just used a block. So Cherry Cobbler, Sweet Sorbet, Fresh Frieza, Petal Pink, Polished Pink, Flirty Flamingo, Tahitian Tide, which was really pretty, Starry Sky, and Bermuda Bay. And some of them I used the light and dark, and some I didn't. Some it didn't really show through all that much. Like this one's a light and dark, and it really didn't show through. Of course, Petal Pink is really, really light. And then the Starry Sky, which I didn't think would show through, actually does a little bit, or at least in person. You probably can't tell in the video. But these are the blending pens. And then I thought, you know, I'm not going to do the colored pencils because they're not going to look good. But the color pencils actually did pretty well. Now, what I did different with the colored pencils, instead of using just black, so this one is in a black base, so on a block, and this one's just in the Memento. But this one right here is Early Espresso, this one's Soft Suede, and this one is Evening Evergreen. And actually, they all look pretty good because these colors are dark, and I'm using a dark filler. So, I mean, if in doubt, you can use Memento like I did on all these, but this one, I actually kind of liked it in the Early Espresso. So, I didn't think that that was going to happen, but it did. And the example I used that you saw earlier, I did use actually the Evening Evergreen because I wanted to have that stem green and then still keep my Cherry Cobbler, because these are Cherry Cobbler and Crushed Curry for the colored pencils. And I did use the blending pen. You really need to use the blending pen. And what I did is I outlined them really dark and filled in the dark areas inside the flower, and then I lightly colored it in and used the blending pen. So it really worked out well for that. So let me show you also this right here. So this, I wanted to take some of the greenery here. Now these are outlined, these two on the top are outlined in Memento. This one is outlined in Evening Evergreen, and this one is outlined in Soft Succulent. So on these two that are in Memento, I used light and dark Soft Succulent. And this one I used light and dark Evening Evergreen. Now this one didn't turn out as well because it's just too dark, but that Soft Succulent, that worked out really well. So down here I did the Evening Evergreen and Soft Succulent, which is a kind of like a duh combination because they're the best two that go together next to Mossy Meadow and Old Olive. But yeah, this one turned out really well. So I stamped it in the Evening Evergreen and then shaded it with the light and dark Soft Succulent in blender pens. These are all blender pens, and then these are not colored pencils, blender pens. And then the Soft Succulent I outlined here, I use light and dark Seafoam, so if you want that lighter look. So these are all examples of how you can really use this set and get a lot out of it. So there's a lot of different things you can choose from. Now the next video I'm going to go ahead and make the cards, so come back for the cards on my next video. Thanks. Bye.